Hey there, I'm Tracy Rigdon, and this is the Contrast Project Lounge podcast. Often random, but always relevant, always real, and practically nothing is off limits. This podcast is for you. Are you ready for this? Let's do it. Welcome back to the program, guys. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here at the Contrast Project Lounge podcast. You know, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, Threads, and YouTube. Don't forget to like, share, and comment, and smash all of those subscribe buttons. Joining me today is the Director of Affordable Housing and Community Development for the City of Jacksonville, Mr. Joshua Hicks. Joshua, how you doing, buddy?
Hey everybody, I'm doing great. How are you, Tracy?
Oh, I'm doing great. Like I was saying before we started, I'm loving this weather.
Oh yeah.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Hey, let's go ahead and dive right in. As the director of affordable housing and community development with the City of Jacksonville, what walk us through what are your primary responsibilities and what does a typical day look like in your office?
Yeah, thanks for that question.
Mhm.
My typical day is trying to find every inch of development space that we can find for affordable housing. I think
Mhm.
when I was appointed to this role back in July of 2023, it was a very simple directive. We need to build more housing to support our communities. So my day in, day out is identifying the federal dollars, the state dollars, and now finally, in the first time in our history, the local dollars that we're putting towards affordable housing to address this crisis, and get them into areas in our community that is going to put units on the street so that people can have an affordable place to live. So I'm the housing liaison for the mayor. So that means I reach out to nonprofits, developers, community leaders, organizations, and talk
Mhm.
to them about where they see the need is for housing in Jacksonville, where we've fallen short over the last 15 years, and how we can institute those short-term programs that I'm sure we'll talk about tonight, that the mayor pushed forward during the transition process, but then also play catch up with the long-term inventory, which unfortunately just takes time to develop,
Right.
but we're already seeing progress in that role as well.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a difficult process, and what with the administration still being new. However, this new administration, in my view, is clearly one of the most progressive and likely one of the best administrations the city has had in decades.
Well, that's a big compliment.
Uh,
Mayor Deegan is really committed to listening to the people. She did her
mhm.
14 community tours. I think a couple of months, like 1 or 2 months after she was sworn in,
Yep.
because she wanted to get ideas and hear from the people. And I'm sure more things like that will come in the future. But I'm honored to serve with her for our community. And yeah, you're right. This administration is full of rock stars and almost every single position, from the mayor's office to even here in our departments at the city. She's made some great appointments, and we're all working to ride upstream together or swim
Mhm.
upstream together. There we go. For one mission, and that's for our community and try to help people.
It's a there really is a wonderful thing, and when I look at and when I see in the news, new appointments, uh, which seem to be still going on, different liaisons, if you will, and committee members,
Sure.
and you just see so many wonderful people being appointed to these positions. Whereas it seems to me in the past, a lot of that was just uh, it it had the appearance of, let me put it that way, it had the appearance of people that just were part of a good old boy network.
But I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, I think,
No.
po- politicians, sometimes are in it for themselves and not for the greater good. Fortunately, in my role, we have a mayor who is in it for the greater good and for
Hmm.
our community. And we have a city council that is actually addressing housing, is addressing the homelessness crisis. They
Right.
want to, support our community. So we're sort of all trying to work together. There's always, issues in terms of, certain programs and certain funding, et cetera. But we're all at least working to address this crisis because we all recognize that this crisis does exist. And one of the things I'm really excited about is some of the programs that we have
Hmm.
that are coming online. I think you heard, might have seen me above the fold in the Florida Times Union not too long
Yeah.
ago,
Yeah.
but with the mayor. But the down payment assistance program, we're excited
Yes.
about that because a lot of people didn't realize the housing division had a low income, below 80% AMI, had homeowners to start a down payment assistance program. But a lot of people didn't know that we had that. Well, now we launched another down payment assistance program that helps people all the way up to, $79,000 a year in terms of their income,
Hmm.
which is market rate. And that's important because we were finding that people were being left out of our lower program by $600, $300, $1,000. And we have to stick to those rules because the federal government, where we
Sure.
get the funding for it,
Right.
requires us to do that. So being able to expand those two programs allows us to move more people from renters to the American dream of home ownership. And the more people we can get into home ownership in Jacksonville, the more generational wealth that will
Hmm.
create. So I'm really excited about that program, and a lot more of programs like that are coming in the very near future here in Jacksonville.
Hmm. And there's two sides of that coin too that
Sure.
appears to be an issue with a lot of people. Uh, a standalone, single family home, and or
Correct.
moving into what would have commonly been called in the past workforce housing. Uh,
Correct.
a larger building, numerous residents in there, and one of the argument, not an argument, but discussions I had recently with Stephen Dare was about that.
Yeah.
The buildings going up and around the north and south bank of Jacksonville. There's a lot of housing
Yes.
going up there. However, it would by no means be considered affordable housing for many people.
No, that's completely true. And I think one of the focuses I'm trying to do in my role is identify the partners that we already have in Jacksonville, but also
Hmm.
new ones coming into Jacksonville that are doing some of these, really nice apartment buildings, condo
Hmm.
buildings.
Yeah,
The riverfront's going to look great. We're going to have a park
sure.
system that's going to be amazing here in the next. We already
Yeah,
have an amazing park system, but along the
yes.
riverbank, it's going to be truly breathtaking here within the next 5 years. We're also going to be building housing, and you're going to see the Four Seasons. You're going to see all these different
Hmm.
things, but you're right, it's not affordable. So what can we do to make sure that we're working with some of these new developers that are in town or developers that have been in town to identify properties along the riverbank that we can put towards low income and moderate income individuals? And I think we're going to have some announcements around that here in the not too distant future, because one of the partners that is coming into Jacksonville, the Related Group, it's a Miami-based developer
Hmm.
company. They have one of these condo buildings that's going to go up along the South Bank, but they also have an amazing affordable housing and low income housing portfolio, one of the best in the nation, actually, in terms
Hmm.
of developing low income and affordable housing. So now that they're in Jacksonville, we're going to be able to work with them to identify new properties to build affordable housing and low income housing. And some of that will hopefully be along the riverbank. We're doing our best to also, incentivize developers who are building
Hmm.
those market rate housing complexes that aren't affordable and saying, hey, if you give us, 50 of your units for low income or affordable housing, we'll incentivize you, whether it's through the Live Local Act that just
Hmm.
passed the state of Florida, where they can get, exemptions on those 50 units on their property taxes, or whether it's through a loan program or a grant program, so that we have more affordability in some of these projects that are already happening, so that we increase the units that we have available that are at the affordable level. But I'm pretty confident we're going to see some affordable housing on the riverbank because we need to make sure the riverbank looks like Jacksonville and
Hmm.
supports all of Jacksonville. And
Right.
that means every
Right.
single income, every single person. The riverbank and downtown belongs to everyone. So we need to make sure that it's a mixed use space that anyone can access and everyone can live at.
Well, that's the ideal. That's great.
That's the ideal.
That is the ideal. Yeah, absolutely. I lived in the urban core several years back, 2014 and
Sure.
15. I lived down there. Actually, ran for city council in 2015 while I was living down there. And I
You
always
gonna run again one day?
no. I'm too old for that. I'm too old for that. No, but at the time, it was back in the days when when the city had around the time when One Spark was in town,
Mhm.
around everything that was happening down there on Laura Street, and it was a fantastic thing. And the one thing that you commonly hear from people that don't come downtown much is number one is parking, which I never
Dude,
I lived off of Church Street when I was down there, and I swear I parked my car in front of the building every single night when I got home from the hospital. Uh, it was
wow.
there was never an issue.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know what they're talking about. And you might have to circle the block. Yeah, when I worked at Folio down when they were downtown there in Sam Taylor's reign of the
Yeah.
magazine, around the corner from where it's at now. But all you'd have to do is circle the block a few times and you'd find a place. That argument is moot to me. But one thing too about bringing people down into the urban core and stuff. Another thing that they grumble about is not enough nightlife or not enough things to do downtown. Again, it's all in how you perceive it, and if you can't find something to do in Jacksonville, you're not trying hard enough.
And that's exactly right. If you can't find something to do, you're not trying hard enough. No, Jacksonville has museums.
Yep.
We have restaurants. We have
Yep.
arts. We have studios.
Mhm.
We have anything that parks, obviously, anything that you could think of to do, whether it's downtown, whether it's the beaches, etc. Jacksonville you can do it.
Mhm.
So but there is always something to do, including downtown.
Mhm.
Now, it is true that because not a lot of people live downtown, there's not as many restaurants as we could have. There's not as
Right.
many retail spaces that we could have. There's not as many, art galleries, etc., that we could have. Because yes, any individuals, owners of those businesses need to make money.
Sure.
And they need to be somewhere where they're going to have consistent business. So
Right.
as we're building up downtown, which is a priority of Mayor Deegan, you're seeing it with the infrastructure and
Mhm.
money and fusion that we're getting. We've already put it in the budget. You saw that in the $147 million grant that was just announced
Yeah.
through infrastructure improvements, through a park system that's going to connect communities. You're going to see, and then through housing, where we're building up downtown and we're focusing on those office to residential conversions. We're focusing on filling those infilled lots. Yes, we're focusing on parking requirements that, I don't have a problem finding a parking space ever. But, so maybe we can start waiving some of those parking requirements from time to time, which saves developers money if they're having to build a condo or an affordable housing development with a 1-to-1 ratio of a parking spot instead of a 1.5 or a 2-to-1 ratio.
Right.
So, because then it's harder to find, if you have to do 2 parking spots for every 1 unit, it's harder to find the land and the lot in
Sure.
downtown to build up.
Right.
So we are bringing the density in because density is important. We've spread out so rapidly as Jacksonville. It's time we contract it back in and focus on the downtown area. That will bring more people to downtown.
Mhm.
And then when we have more people downtown, guess what? We'll bring in even more restaurants and retail. We already have the sports industries downtown.
Oh yeah.
You already have the Florida Times Union and all of these art galleries and park systems. So once we have more people living downtown, you're going to see the nightlife really explode. And that's what it's all about. It's about making Jacksonville a 24/7 city, especially downtown, and bringing that nightlife back and bringing that that pride in our urban core and downtown community. And I think that'll help a lot of things moving forward.
Another thing too, when we talk about parking, I still run into people that don't frequent downtown very much, but have been invited to come down there for, let's say, Art Walk or the River Jams
Yeah.
or
Love Art
whatever.
Walk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what have you. Art Walk used to be my favorite when I lived down there. I used to walk there, but here it's still walkable if you live down there. People talk about the walkable neighborhoods. It's walkable if you live there. But with the parking, like I said, I still hear people to this day not only complain about the amount of parking available, but they still think that you have to pay those meters 24/7, 7 days a week. I had to tell somebody just a week ago. A guy gave me a ride downtown I had a meeting with someone, and the guy, he was like, "Well, I have to drop you off because I'm not paying to park." And I'm like, "You don't have to. It's after 6."
Correct.
I'm like, "Dude,
After 6, you're good. You're golden.
he said, "I didn't know that." And he's lived here for 30 years. So, that might be something too. Put up a big banner that says, you don't have to pay after 6, and the weekends too. So, but another thing I noticed too, sometimes when there's an event in town, whatever it is, and not necessarily because Bay Street's blocked off for some reason or what have you, or in the current construction that's going on down there. But one thing I've noticed, and I know that's not your purview, but one of the things is they sure do bag a lot of those meters. They block off several blocks of meters at a time sometimes, and it just doesn't seem like it's necessary. I guess it's a safety issue or something, but I don't see the point in it. Sometimes.
Yeah, I can't really comment on that. I see it too in the morning, every morning coming to work, where there's bags on certain meters. Some of it is because they're around
Sure.
construction zones,
Sure.
so it
I
does
get that.
come down to safety. But then there's some that are just in front of a building that doesn't look like construction's going on, and you wonder sometimes. But to your original point, there are always plenty of meters and plenty of places to go. There's also plenty of parking garages. There are plenty of places to park downtown. So can't ever use parking as an excuse not to come downtown.
No. Now, when it comes to building affordable housing projects, whether they be multifamily units or single family, what have you, when you do find areas, let's say away from the core, and you find properties that are appropriate to be developed, how do you approach the not in my backyard crowd when you're coming in there telling them plainly that you're going to be building affordable housing? And like I said, the NIMBY crowd, sometimes immediately when they hear the word affordable housing, they think a rundown HUD kind of thing. How is that? I can only imagine that's a difficult situation to communicate to them.
It is. It is difficult, but you have to respect everyone's view.
Sure.
That's first and foremost, and you try to talk it through, or try to talk it through with them. I think it's important for especially your viewers to know affordable housing these days is not the HUD housing, the public housing that you saw 40, 50 years ago.
No.
Affordable housing these days are top of the line appliances and units, because sometimes affordable housing units are in the same development as market rate units, and you will never know the difference between a market rate and an affordable housing unit unless you go up to your neighbor, knock on their door, and hey, how much are you paying rent? And that's the point. But the point is, it should be all the same. We should have the same market rate versus affordable housing should look the same, especially if it's in the same building. Now, obviously, if you go and you're trying to live in a condo building, et cetera, those are going to have nicer finishes, etc. So that's different. But in terms of affordable housing, it looks like it should look like market rate housing in terms of the finishes and the basic flooring and roofs and windows and appliances, etc. It is not what you saw 50 years ago with public housing. And in fact, we can't build public housing right now. And the reason is, the Faircloth Act or amendment that was passed, a decade ago, prevents JHA from building new public housing. we have a limit on the amount of public housing we can build because of that, and we're not allowed to go over it. So most communities don't build public housing anymore. We build low income housing, and then we build affordable housing, and that's what we're focusing on. But I want to stress that, especially to NIMBYs, one, our community is struggling with housing. We are 35,000 units short of where we should be on affordable housing. The average rent right now in Jacksonville, as of just yesterday, Jax Today mentioned it, is $1,781, which is an 8% increase from last year. The 80% threshold is around $1,200 to $1,300. So that's the range where affordable housing starts. So you see our rent price is so much higher than the affordable housing level. It's why more than 52% of our renters are cost burdened. That means they're paying more than 30% of their annual income on housing. And in fact, over 40,000 of our renters are paying more than 50% of their annual income on rent. So we need to build more housing, especially affordable housing, so that we can create the supply to meet the demand. That'll lower costs. But again, this housing is not horrible housing. It's not the urban legend that I hate is that it's going to hurt your real estate value. It's going to bring down your housing cost, or et cetera.
Yes.
In fact, in some communities, it's been shown to increase housing costs because it's allowed for more people to move into that area. And when you have more of your housing units taken in a certain area, you build more housing units, and that's supply and demand. And it helps improve the market overall, not actually decrease it. So we're building top of the line housing here in Jacksonville. We have Best Score and Corner Lot, and all of these organizations and developers who take pride in the work that they do. So I just, if you're an NIMBY individual who is still not convinced, just reach out to me, and I'll take you on a tour with one of these properties and show you how nice it is. I would live in some of them, because I've lived in rental properties quite a few times in my life, and they're actually nicer than anything I lived in growing up. So, times are changing.
Yes.
Developers are taking pride in their work because they realize it's a community asset to have people in a house. In my opinion, housing is healthcare. Everyone deserves a roof over their head, and they deserve quality housing, not the housing that we got in the past.
Yeah,
sorry, that was a long question. I get fired up about that.
No. You're absolutely right. Struggling. I can assure you that a vast number of people in Jacksonville with two incomes don't add up to that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, our average income in Jacksonville is around I believe it's around $70,000, $72,000 of what that in Jacksonville. So family of two, if you have average, you're at 140,000. So it's not even close to the 260,000 or whatever mark. So it shows that we need to build the affordable housing that shouldn't. We're starting to use attainable housing because that's really what it is. It's housing that everyone can access, because affordable has a bad rap. And in my opinion, affordable should not have a bad rap about it. We all want affordable housing. I don't care who you are.
That's right.
You could be the richest person in the world, but you shouldn't be spending more than 30% of your income on housing. It's we all deserve affordable housing, and the definition varies depending on, whether you're, depending on what your area median income is, and all of those stats that, the Department of Housing and Urban Development and the Florida Housing Coalition, et cetera, based off of, like you said, our area median rent and, income and all that. So.
Yeah. The numbers that routinely come out are a little bit on the high side. But still, two income households are still having a hard time paying rent. Like you say, average median rent $1,700 a month. That's still a lot of money for a couple of people that are making barely $35,000-$40,000 a year apiece. That's still a lot of money.
That's exactly. That's a two income household. Imagine the household that I grew up in, which was a single mom raising me and my two brothers. So she had to work 5 jobs. And then we went apartment to apartment because even back, 20, 30 years ago, those rates changed on a
Yeah,
yearly basis. So
yeah.
we moved to what we could afford until we got a house. So imagine you're a single mother or a single father and you're raising kids and you're trying to do this on one income.
Hmm.
And kids are expensive, so
Yeah, yeah.
everybody's expensive, especially nowadays. So you have to budget and you have to manage your income. And if you are automatically priced out of the housing market
Hmm.
before you even begin to search, because of
Right.
how expensive things are, because we don't have the supply to meet the demand, then you're automatically started behind the eight ball, and that's just not right, especially
No.
with a single parent trying to raise a family.
Yeah.
So it impacts so many different types of. You could be a 2-person household and have income, but also have your parents living with you, because
That's true.
they need support later in life.
Yes.
So
Yes.
everyone's different, and that's why affordable housing is so important, because everyone has different circumstances and life situations, but affordable housing should support everyone no matter their current demographic, their age, etc., and should always be available no matter what situation in life you're going through.
Do you happen to have any success stories of
Yeah.
policies or things that may have changed in your tenure there? Things that are that you're most proud of. I know we talked a lot about the affordable housing and grants coming, community development, that kind of thing. Are there any projects that you're particularly proud of?
Yeah, so a few. Obviously, we got $8.2 million in a transition report, in the transition funding from the mayor last year in October,
Hmm.
based off of a lot of the recommendations that were in the Affordable Housing Transition Subcommittee report that I chaired, and it was the most of any report in the transition process. We got 32% of the funding of that $25 million that was put aside for transition reports, and that shows the administration's dedication to addressing housing and homelessness. And I think one of the things I'm proud of is we have a few programs. I already talked about the down payment assistance
Right, right.
program that we
Yeah.
launched. We had the roofing program that basically maxed out in 45 minutes, because of the demand that people need to replace their roofs because of insurance letters or code violations. And we're hoping to launch that program again here in the next month or so more people can get on the waiting list, so more roofs can be supported. We have gap funding going into supporting housing developments for the first time in the history of Jacksonville.
Oh, that's
Local
nice.
gap funding,
Right.
local revenue, because traditionally we've always had to rely on federal and state funding, but now we're having that local funding coming in, which is really elevating what we can do on the local level in terms of addressing the housing crisis. There's obviously a bunch of homeless initiatives that we are
Oh
we are
yeah.
pushing forward to support people in on the prevention side through rental and utility assistance, through eviction prevention, helping people walk through the process with their landlords so that they stay in their house. We have a limited repair program that can give you up to $50,000 to come to your house and fix your roof, to take your walls, to fix your bathtub, that we manage here in the housing division. So there's a lot of things I'm proud of, but what I'm most proud of is the fact that we've been able to right now identify over 3,000 units going towards affordable housing or workforce
Oh,
housing
nice.
development projects as I speak, that'll be completed in 2024 and 2025. So we are getting the inventory up. And that's what I'm proud about, because we need to get that supply up to meet the demand. And the only way to do it is hustle. We're going out there and, talking to as many developers as we can and trying to make deals and say, hey, this is about our community. And these incentives exist.
Hmm.
What This is a long response, but one of the things that I that came up during my committee, but also that I hear over and over again, is there's actually not a lot of information out there on the availability of the incentives for developers to build affordable housing. So once we communicate how many programs exist to sort of help the finances make sense, developers want to support the community. They want to build affordable housing, but some just don't realize that, some of these programs exist in terms of, funding capabilities, or the new state program, the Live Local Act, where you can get 75% or 100% tax tax exemption on your property taxes
Mhm.
by just building affordable housing. So we're trying to communicate as much as we can so that we get more inventory, more affordability in some of these projects, so that we get that 3,000 number even higher, so that we can to continue to, on a yearly basis, put more units and more inventory into our community so people have the choice of where they want to live, and not have to, make, tough decisions for their families.
That's really important. That's great that you brought that up, and that goes hand in hand with the amount of inventory that you're building up. That people have a choice. People have a choice rather than limited availability of space. They're offered. Well, here's the keys to the only place you're going to get.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Everyone should have a choice of where they live. There should
absolutely.
be
Yeah, yeah.
affordable housing at the beaches. There
Hmm.
should be affordable housing at Baldwin, and there should be affordable housing everywhere in between. So my focus is making sure we have housing across the county, because we are a big county.
Yeah, the
Um,
biggest,
so that people can the
the biggest
biggest, so that
city.
people
Yeah,
can
yeah.
take advantage of that. Exactly. The biggest
Right.
city, in terms of land,
Hmm.
so that people could take advantage of housing, so that they do have that choice. They do have that choice to live wherever they want, and raise their family wherever they want,
Hmm.
and go downtown if they want to live downtown and enjoy the nightlife, or
Hmm.
go to the beach if they want to see the sunrise every morning. Those are choices that people make, and you want people to live in a community and in an area of town where they just love. And we
Right.
should never be telling people where to live, period. And we
Right.
should be making sure we're lifting up every single community and making sure the infrastructure, the support systems are in place, so that every community is being treated equally, in terms of funding that they're getting from the city council, in terms of funding that we're getting from the state, so that we're lifting up everyone's way of life and not just
Hmm.
focusing on one side of town versus another.
Well, I totally agree. And you're talking about different areas of town, where
Yeah.
your inventory, I'm assuming, is spread out. Yeah. So, one of the areas that I often hear grumbling about from our good friend Angie Nixon is the Northwest Quadrant. Uh,
Yeah. Love Angie.
I do too. I do too. And yell at her so she'll come on the podcast, because
All right.
I have been talking with her back and forth for months to get on the show. Anyhow, I know she's busy.
I'll tweet at her.
Yeah. Tell her she's got to get on here. All right. She told me, she said, go ahead and send an email to my assistant. And I did. Never heard back from her.
Yeah.
But, she's like, I'll do it after I get back from Tallahassee. Well, she's back.
She's back now. Yeah. So
I
yeah,
know.
exactly. I'm sure you'll get her on over the next few weeks.
Oh, yeah. Well, supposedly in April. That's what I'm told anyway.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we'll see.
Perfect.
Oh, and Jimmy Peluso is going to be on here in a couple weeks. Yeah. I'm trying to.
Great.
I want to get in touch with as many people within Jacksonville's city government, especially now with the housing crisis. Especially you. I know we had to reschedule once before, but
You did.
you were right at the top of the list because of, I know, the job that you hold.
Yeah.
And so the affordable housing's always been an issue for me. And one of the things also that's driving people into having a really hard time is the homeowners insurance. I know personally, homeowners insurance out this neck of woods went up 300%.
Yeah.
That's insane.
No,
It's insane.
It's tough on people when you have high rent costs.
Yeah.
Already.
Yeah.
And then you have insurance going up, especially if you're a homeowner.
Yeah.
So in this case, if you have a mortgage, but you're still on a fixed budget,
Mhm.
and like every month I have a mortgage, every month I expect to pay a certain amount, and I
Right.
can budget around that, right?
Yeah.
But then if you're dropped, insurance wise, which we had about 2 years ago, a leak, a flood in our house that caused a a pipe bust in our kitchen.
Mhm.
It took us a year and a half to get our house fixed, which is finally fixed. I love being back in the house. But
Yeah.
our insurance company, because they weren't going to give us the money that we deserved because of, what the insurance company is supposed to cover, they dropped us.
Right. Yeah,
And
good.
then we had to find new insurance, and no one would insure you while you're fixing your house. Finally, we found insurance, but guess what? It's about $1,000 more than we were paying. So my mortgage bill went
Yeah,
up about $400 because of the
exactly.
escrow. So it's, people can't necessarily afford that. And property insurance, them being able to just randomly drop people or going to people and saying, hey, you need a new roof, even though it's only been 10
Mhm.
years and roofs
Mhm.
are supposed to last 15 or 20 years,
Mhm.
that's not right. So
Right,
I
right.
hope the state legislature, unfortunately, the city doesn't have much control over that. But I hope the state legislature does get our property insurance crisis under control, because it all plays a role in the
Yeah,
housing crisis.
right. Sure it
People can
does.
only afford so much.
That's right.
People can only afford so much, and if they want to go into a homeowner, go into home ownership, if your insurance on those properties are going to be so high, you can't afford it. So we need to
Yeah.
get it controlled on the state level while we're also building the inventory and getting it under control on the local level. And I hope the state acts on it.
I sure do too. And I got to tell you, even though I currently, and this is going to be the last place I live, uh, I live way out in the woods on a couple of acres. The place is paid for. However, that
Very good.
homeowner's insurance, like I said, tripled just this past year.
Yeah.
Some of the major insurance companies have left the state and currently don't have any intentions of coming back, although they say they're being, courted to come back. But, hey, and the ones that are available have been, less than less than accommodating to current homeowners. It's
Well,
difficult. It's a difficult time.
it is difficult, and I that's why we instituted the roofing program
Oh yeah,
that we
yeah,
hope
yeah.
to relaunch here soon to get more people on the waiting list, because that helps. And if you're getting an insurance
Mhm.
letter, I mean, how many people can just have a random $15,000 sitting around? Not many.
Yeah.
So if you
15,000
if
if
you
you're
get that letter,
15,000 if
if
you're
you're lucky,
lucky.
right? Exactly. So if you get that letter, you now have a program with the city that you can apply for if you qualify for, at a certain income level, etc. But you now have a program with the city that
Mhm.
you can qualify for to cover up to $15,000 of your roof replacement, and that's a
Mhm.
big deal for a lot of people.
Sure. Sure.
Because life happens, and sometimes you go home and you open your mailbox and you just get a letter and says, "Hey, you got to replace that roof in 30 days."
Right.
Well, that for some people is, we're not replacing the roof, we're moving out. And then if
Exactly.
they're moving out, if they're selling their home, if they're moving out,
Mhm.
etc., then they're having to find another place that oftentimes, because of the housing market burst that we had or increase that we had in 2021 and 2022, a lot of people can't afford what's out there right now.
Right.
So they're going back from home ownership back to renting. And
Right.
then, as I just said, our rent costs, our monthly rent costs, is almost the amount of some mortgages.
Sure it is.
It is, it in some ways it's more than what some mortgages
It
are.
is more
So
in some
you're
cases.
going from home ownership back to renting because of an insurance letter that you should not have gotten. And there's some cases where, yes, you need to replace your roof, and
Mhm.
yes, you need
Yeah.
to, there's code violations with the city. So gotta replace that roof. Well, now you
Mhm.
can work with the city, work with our department through our program. And our roof program shut down right now. We have the limited repair program, and
Mhm.
that does include roofs. So if you were on the waiting list, let's just say if you were on the waiting list for the roof program and you didn't qualify, we don't drop you off the list. We move you to our limited repair waiting list. You will get help and you will get support. It just depends on what
Mhm.
program or what process that we have. And that's important for people to know. Just because you might not qualify for one program, we have other programs that we try to get you qualified for, to
Mhm.
get you the assistance you can, because keeping you in your house and home ownership is vitally important for the future and the success of Jacksonville, and for just better way of life and better quality of life.
Yeah. There has always been, at least I have never had a problem. There has always been certain programs that the city offers And if you dig enough
Yeah.
and do enough research, there are a lot of programs available for people. And the new stuff that the new administration that you're a part of is just it's really phenomenal. There's some great things coming out. The
Yeah.
administration
And
now.
it gets down to putting support and help in the short term.
Sure.
It goes, sometimes it takes years to get a development deal done.
Mm-hmm.
You first have to, some of the development deals that come across my desk have 5 or 6 mortgages.
Mm.
So you have to get the financials in place, which for some take, anywhere from, 6 months to 18 months. And then you got to build it, especially these multifamily, big 200, 250 apartment complexes. Those take another 18 months. So you're
Sure.
looking at 3 or 4 years. What are you doing in the short term to help people now? And that's where some of these transition programs are really coming about. It helps people now. We're putting programs in place to support our community now, while, as I mentioned earlier, we get that inventory up. And, it's all about supply and demand and getting inventory to where we need to be so that we always have a constant supply, 1,000, 2,000 units always available for our community, because Jacksonville's growing. We're going to be 700,000 more people in the next 50 years.
Sure.
So we're going to need to continue to not only build low income and affordable housing, but we'll have workforce and market rate housing being built too, because our community in general is just growing so rapidly, because Jacksonville's an amazing place to live, and we need to support people to stay here and not just be okay with people leaving and going to another city, because we should be proud of where we live.
Yeah. And as much as we do love the waterfront, the riverfront, the beaches, and all that kind of things, I would assume, I'm just going to ask you, I would assume that when you approach developers and so forth, that you're also including people that are from the resiliency team, because of the water level rise that is predicted in the future. And so if new housing is going to be going into one of those predicted flood zones, that might be a problem down the road.
No, absolutely. That's a great question and a great comment. No, we are working with the Chief Resilience Officer here in Jacksonville. We're working with Ashanti Green, who is our sustainability manager here in Jacksonville, to make sure that any development project going up is not in a flood zone, is in a protected area, but also not just about flooding, they're more energy efficient. You asked what I was proud of earlier. We announced that we got about a $850,000 grant from the Department of Energy for energy efficiency programs. And we're partnering with JEA to go to houses out east on the east side, and retrofit their houses with energy efficiency, programs and supplies. That's better light bulbs. That's insulation in their house so that, it's staying warm or cold, but not bearing. New front doors. Making sure we're patching up all the leaks in the house so the air is not getting in and out and changing the climate. And we're monitoring all of this because it's actually going to lower a lot of people's electric bills by about $100 a month.
Sure.
And for a lot of people who are paying paycheck to paycheck, $100 a month means more groceries, or you can pay for your health bill, or you can, enjoy a better way of life.
Right.
So, we're putting not only making sure these developments are going up in places that aren't going to flood in the next 50 years, but also we're making sure that new developments are energy efficient, and we're going to people's homes through the energy efficiency program that we do hope to expand after we expend this $850,000 from the Department of Energy. We want to expand that program, get more grant dollars to support it, but also get some local dollars into it as well, so that we can continue to help houses to bring down folks' electric bills to save them money. Resiliency is incredibly important. And when you're a town that has beaches and the intracoastals, the waterways, the river. You have to cross a bridge to get downtown.
Right.
If you're coming from out east,
1,200 miles of shoreline in Duval County.
Yes. And so you have to keep resilience in mind. Yep.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're all going to be underwater in 50 years. So
I know. And your resiliency officer, Anne, is that her name?
and yeah,
Yes. I sent her an
that's
email
correct.
too.
Yeah.
I sent her an email too.
Yeah, no, she would be great on this.
I know.
I learned stuff from her every
Yeah.
time I talk to her.
Yeah.
She's amazing. She's an expert in the field.
Mhm.
She knows her stuff, and she's really she put together an amazing plan for Jacksonville that we
Yeah.
now just got to implement.
Mhm.
And I love seeing all of our leaders in Jacksonville, from the city council to the mayor to city offices, all getting behind that plan, because you know it's a real problem that we need to make sure that we're addressing moving forward. As Jacksonville's growing, the 700,000 people that we're adding over the next 50 years, we got to make sure we're growing in a smart way. We're growing in the right way.
Exactly.
Not to grow just to grow, but
Right.
make sure that it's all planned out as it should be.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, Joshua, I had a wonderful time talking to you. However, I got one more question for you. One last question before we go.
Shoot.
We'll lighten this up a little bit.
All right, perfect.
Yeah. There's an ongoing thing right now. It's a hot topic in Jacksonville. It's been going around social media all over the place. Has to do with development and commerce and that kind of thing. Taco bars and craft beer. Do we need more?
Oh, that's a tough one.
I know.
I do love my tacos.
Yeah,
I do
me
love
too.
my tacos, but you know what I also love is I love food in general. So I'm actually a very adventurous eater. I will always try anything. I've had squirrel and possum and you know, all that good stuff. So no, I will try any food. But so having more you know, diverse food options, especially in areas of population that is asking for it, is never a bad thing. We do have a lot of taco joints. We do have a lot of beer places. I do love beer, so I'm not gonna complain about both because I like them both. But yeah, having a diverse you know, option on where to eat will bring more people into your community.
Sure.
I think maybe a few less taco bars over the next few years, and more, let's say, Ethiopian food or Asian food or Chinese or you know, seafood. I love seafood. You know, getting different restaurants and different types of you know, cultures and culinary you know, expertise in Jacksonville is always welcomed. And I know Phil might hate me for saying this, but one of you know, my husband Philip Perry, the Chief Communications Officer, he wants to you know, get a Michelin star at some point here in Jacksonville. So we'll see. You know, we don't have any control over that, but if you bring in more options and better chefs and better types of food that, you know, fine dining, maybe one day Jacksonville will have that Michelin star restaurant that we all deserve, because food gets a bad rap around here, but we actually have some pretty decent restaurants.
There's some great restaurants.
Yeah.
There's some great restaurants. I'll tell you, I hear moaning and groaning about certain restaurants that I've been to that I absolutely enjoyed. I love Calford Chop Out. I love that place. Love it. I used to.
Orsay is amazing. You
Orsay,
French food, can't go wrong with the French. Yeah.
Biscottis. I used to be a regular downtown when I did a lot of business in Riverside. I was at Mossfire almost every day for lunch. And Black Sheep, of course, they're gone now. Black Sheep, fantastic place. Now that would be a good.
Which is being replaced with the taco bar.
Bar taco. I'm going to tell you, you're not going to be able to go in that place and get a $2 taco.
No. But you're gonna have a view. Right?
The rooftop up there. That's actually a fabulous looking building. So if you know, a 4-star chef or what have you, 3-star even, were to come in there, I mean, 1 star. You know, you that is a beautiful place to have it. It really is. And I don't wish any you know, ill will on the place. I thought it was a shame to see Black Sheep leave there. Like I said, I was a regular there too. But the
and I mean, you've got to it's you know, it's the American way. It's being a consumer. You know, you got to support you know, just local business owners who are, you know, maybe they're expertise is tacos. That's okay. If
Yeah.
they want to open a business and start a restaurant, we should support that. My mom's a coffee restaurant owner
Hmm.
or a coffee shop owner. So and she was in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, but she has a coffee shop on the Strip in Gatlinburg, and she loves it.
Hmm.
And we should support small business owners and any opportunity to open a small
Yeah.
business. So
Yeah.
whether it's more tacos or French food or other types of food, just if you like that type of food that they're cooking, go support small business owners, because
Exactly.
I've seen it from my mom. It's a tough business to be in. It's
Hmm.
long hours. If you think 9 to 5 is tough, try being a small business owner where your hours are more like 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. It's a tough business, and when you have to pull a profit every day,
Hmm.
just to stay open,
Yep.
it puts a lot of stress on people's lives. So I don't wanna make fun of too many restaurant owners who open it up. We all have our own preferences in terms of where we want to go eat.
Sure.
But everyone loves a taco, especially on Taco Tuesdays. So why
Yeah.
not more?
I tell you what, Joshua, it's been a joy having you on the program. We had a lot to talk about there, and you covered all the bases. I
We
do
did.
believe a lot of good things, like I said, going on in Duval County. If you got anything, one final thought you'd like to share with us?
Sure. Yeah, I'll just say, obviously, we're really focused on addressing this housing crisis and homelessness crisis that we have in Jacksonville, and really lifting up our community. Mary Deegan is committed to doing whatever it takes to get the supply that we need to meet the demand. So we're just getting started. We are 8 months in. We're already seeing great progress in a lot of the work that we're doing. It's great the Fire Rehab Administration really focusing so hard on addressing the housing and homelessness crisis. And we're just getting started. So more great things to come. And I would love to be back on this program here in a few months or next year
Yeah.
to share even more of those details as it comes up, because it's important that we lift each other up, and Jacksonville's only as strong as its community, and we have a damn great community here in
Yes, we
Jacksonville that
do.
we need to support from every part of Jacksonville. So let's keep doing it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Joshua, I'm going to let you
Yes,
go for
Jason.
now, and we will talk soon. And like I tell just about everybody, you're welcome to come back anytime.
I'll be back. I promise you.
All
Thanks, Tracy.
right. We'll see you. Well, that's a wrap. Another fantastic episode of the podcast. You can find us on all the social media platforms, wherever you surf: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter X, Threads, wherever. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. And on our YouTube channel, don't forget to like, share, comment, and smash that subscribe button. If you're streaming audio for the podcast, you can find us wherever you get your favorite podcast programs. In the meantime, I like to tell everybody, take care of yourselves and each other. Until next time, peace.